Well, in California, we have these nonpartisan local races, so that's where we've been successful. In the partisan races, just like you described with the presidential debates, the whole system is set up to deny you any access to publicity. And then there's a psychological barrier that, well, you're not a big party, so you can't win, so I'm not going to waste my vote. And last year we had Occupy, and there's a chance that there's going to be some energy. Do you see any way, other than just getting a lot of experienced people who've sat on city councils or these different boards, do you see any way of getting credibility for the party?
Yeah, and I'm going to pass this over to Laura in just a second, but I mean, for sure. And it's like Chris Hedges, you know, the noted journalist who worked for the New York Times until he quit. You know, he tells all these amazing stories about change, powerful transformational change that just came out of nowhere. And, you know, he's been their war correspondent and has covered like 40 areas, 40 different countries around the world that have been in absolute upheaval. And he was in Berlin the day that the wall came down. And he said on that day, the advocates for democracy were saying, well, maybe in 10 years, you know, we're going to keep working at it, maybe in 10 years. And that night, the wall came down. So when a system is being basically consumed from within by a cancer of corruption and, you know, and just complete, I wouldn't even say lack of integrity, it's far worse than that, you know, incredible predatory mentality. You know, it has basically eaten itself to death from inside, and it's going to collapse. The only question is when, and by our having credible campaigns, running and winning local nonpartisan races, we begin to build the, you know, the structure for taking power when it happens. And I also want to mention that Occupy is a really important case in point, because when Occupy began, it was like, oh no, you know, we don't want candidates here. You can be here, but not as a candidate. By the end of the campaign, it was more like, this is pretty interesting. I think I'm going to get active in your campaign. And now we have whole Occupy organizations that are hosting green candidate trainings. In Texas, they ran a whole bunch of candidates who were Occupy candidates running as Greens. So Occupy has come to understand that they are in the target hairs, and they cannot afford not to use any tool at their disposal for taking back, you know, democracy, justice, and our future. Laura, did you want to jump in about how we fight that?
Well, something that I wanted to say that relates to this is, and to growing the Green Party, is that if somebody is able to do something, if you ask them to do something and they're able to invest themselves, then it's amazing how often that will grow. Like if you ask them to register green and they go, you know, I've been thinking about it, and they do that. That is a lot of, that empowers them. Or if they donate, you know, or if they do something like that. So that even just asking people to register, asking people to run, asking you to empower, empower, empower. And the other thing I want to say is that I believe that hope is actually an essential human nutrient. And so you've got to feed yourself some hope, because there is a lot out there that can make you feel like there's no chance. And that's what they want us to think. The group of people that knows more than any other group of people how powerful people are is the 1%. Ironically, they know. You know, they know much more than we know. That's why they're trying to do everything they can. They know how powerful elections are too, which is why they're trying to convince people not to vote. And